Bruce Lee is one of the greatest kickers of all time, right? Bruce Lee is undoubtedly the person who more people have ever seen kick, ever. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch some Bruce Lee fight scenes. We're gonna focus specifically on the kicks, if I like them or if I don't. And I know what you're thinking immediately. Seth, that is so pretentious of you to just act like you can break down whoever you want's kicks on your own YouTube channel for your videos on the internet. And to that I say, okay, first video. Okay, so this first clip that we've got here is kind of like a front snap roundhouse kick is what we would call it. He immediately does this little skip. Personally, I'm not a super fan. I'll just go ahead and say it right now. Wow, that sucks. The first thing we're gonna talk about is crummy. I'm not a fan of pendulum step. I think that for landing like quick little, like it's good. It makes sense to do. But if you're gonna add power behind it, which obviously isn't the purpose of fight scenes, like the purpose of fight scenes is look sick. When it comes to landing power, I think you lose a lot of momentum by just letting your body shift back. Granted, it makes access for your kicks easier because I can pick up my leg easier when my body is backwards. So what he's doing is he's going from like this really deep, wide stance to then shifting his body backwards, which makes it easier for you to pick that leg up. But let's move on to the kick itself. He feints low here. Now, this is pretty much a question mark kick, but with the lead leg, made possible by that pendulum step. Usually with the question mark kick, it has a ton of power because it's the back leg and you're using your momentum of your body coming forwards to really turn into it because I'm putting my body behind it. This one's a little bit different because it's more so the momentum of his foot coming up, and it's a snappier version of a question mark kick. I feel like one of Bruce Lee's best things is going to be his hip dexterity probably. But just watch his ability here. His foot stays in the same place, boom, foot stays in the same spot as his knee starts to rotate. That's like key for a good question mark kick. If you want a good question mark kick, you pick it up and then you hold your foot here, feint, knee moves around it, bang. That's what he's looking for here. You want to go boom, bang. That's what's really gonna sell it, is the fact that the foot has to be there. You have to give them enough time to react to it and then you swivel it around, bang. Now obviously, once again, not to make contact, but to look cool. Only thing I don't love here is the pendulum step. Oh, this is really interesting. Okay, this is something that you see a lot. Well, I mean, first and foremost, first thing I noticed about the spinning wheel kick, this moment right here. His ability to get his leg like right next to his head is crazy. Yeah, that's wild. But secondly, no, this is the first Lee, this is Bruce. This is really cool because you see this a lot in spinning attacks in fighting in general. It's the throwing of the boom, this hand right here, and what that does is it starts the rotation and it gives a feint. So it goes eyes up here, looks like I'm throwing a punch, and then you swing that back leg around and throw this wheel kick. Bang! Uriah Hall did this and smoked that dude on Ultimate Fighter. A spin is something that can be very easily telegraphed, so hiding it with the hands is super important if you want to actually start to land stuff. Like, it's so telegraphed to the point that now Sean O'Malley is feinting spins, and you could argue that it's older than that, like maybe an Andy Hug. But the main thing is that if you're gonna spin, start the rotation while you're showing something else. You don't want to start spinning while they can just see you spin. Let's see if we have a hook kick or a crescent kick here. Yeah, beautiful. Now this might be hard for you guys to see. If this was a spinning wheel kick that he threw in this thing, it's really impressive. One of the hard parts about spinning wheel kicks or spinning hook kicks is making them go from bent to extended, pulled back, or bent to extended to pulled straight through. If you watch like a Stephen Thompson, you know, the guy, karate guy, very nice. If you watch him throw his spinning wheel kicks in fights, he goes like this. He pushes the leg out and then extends it and pulls it across while he turns his hip. That's 100% what Bruce Lee does here. Now, but if you watch in this area right here, boom, you've got the extension, and then his hip pushes afterwards, and you can tell because his body goes a little bit further back, and his arm comes out. Boom! That's like what the extended hip looks like. Whang! That little extra moment at the end. Whang! right? So he's going push, whang. Not like super difficult spinning wheel kick, but to add that level of detail to your spinning wheel kick is where it starts to get a little crazy, and honestly very impressive. Bang. Yeah, it's just fun to watch. He should like make movies. Okay, we got a hook kick here. Same thing, looks like we're going with the pendulum step. Now, this kick, okay, I think this is gonna be our first ripper here. This kick, watch his body is right now off the ground. Makes it easier to get the kick higher by your body coming up. You'll see a lot of people who are fighting have their body come up, especially on axe kicks, because your body coming down is going to be the same movement as your leg coming down. Axe kick, your leg comes down, let your body follow behind it. That's how you add power. If you're throwing a roundhouse kick, your body comes up. Now, what he does here is he's going up and then throwing a hook kick. Is it a hook kick? Let's see. Yeah, very obviously a hook kick. Not necessarily a hatchet kick where the foot would come this way, but a hook kick where it definitely goes 100% side to side. You can tell because his toes point sideways here. With this one, it's interesting. Obviously, we're not looking at the contact. We're not looking for contact. This is a movie. What I'm trying to think about is the efficiency of the movements if you were to do them yourself. That jumping pendulum step is going to be really good for getting your foot up, but once your foot is up, now you have to think about, okay, where am I making contact? Am I making contact on the way down? Am I making contact left to right? If you're making contact left to right, you want to have that foot planted. You want to be throwing your hips side to side and rotating your body, not on your way down from a jump. Bang. I mean, it would have hurt, for sure, if that made contact. It's the heel. It's a hard part of the body. Ooh. Okay, that was something. That's a pretty tight chamber. Like immediately, that leg is bent. Usually when you're thinking attacking on someone that's coming in, you don't want to have your leg too far chambered. If you look at like really, really high level kickers, they don't usually chamber this much in competition. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. He does a good job of flicking that foot out here. Bang! And his body alignment's awesome. Like he's got the crunched core, his hips inside of his foot, he's got them clenched cheeks. Solid, real solid. And then he does like a little extra flicky at the end. Wonder what that was about. I wonder if he was supposed to kick him again. Just in the boys. I don't know, weird. Oh, here's something super interesting. You don't really see this a lot in powerful kicks these days. A lot of the time if you're watching like Muay Thai or anything where it's like really power based, aside from maybe Kyokushin, you don't see a lot of the body staying in the same spot and you turning through the kick. So for example, if I was right here and I went like this, bang! Like his ability to keep his hips in the same spot, rotate his knee over, and then kick up with what looked like it was going to be pretty strong, bang, and then pulling it right back, that's not easy to do. That's pretty cool. You could argue people would probably be like, oh, that's not good form because you can tell he's not rotating this foot very far, this base foot. It's probably like right here. Like he's not rotating this all the way through, bang, which is what a lot of like fanboys and people who talk too much on the internet say. What's really impressive is when you can ignore the rules, ignore the fact that you have to turn all the way. And that kind of happens once you know the rules, you can break the rules a little bit. This is one of those broken rules here. Here we are again with the pendulum step. Here's why Bruce Lee loves the pendulum step. Look at how loaded his back leg is and how light his front leg is. He takes a little bitty push off his front leg. Boop. He extends his back leg, replaces the back leg, and then with his front leg, with his crazy hip dexterity, he can pick it up and put it pretty much wherever he wants to. This time, it was a side kick. Oh, interesting, a side kick. Kind of thrown like a roundhouse kick. Places it like it's a side kick. Probably not the best technique for pushing, like a pushing technique, but honestly, if you can get your foot up there fast enough and you can hit somebody's face, it's gonna hurt. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier when I mentioned the spinning wheel kick, being able to drive your hips all the way through. Let's watch this one in slow-mo here. Watch his right hip. This is what's really impressive about his hook kick. One, the fact that he could get it up there so high. Pretty wild. Watch how his body rotates and his hip is now behind him. That's crazy. Let's talk about this kick real quick. Bang. Okay, so he's going to start off with an inside crescent kick. Bow. Toes pointed up. Hips stay towards the person the whole time. Now, once his kick is done, he's going to allow his body to turn through. He places that foot down, heel pointed towards his target. You can tell because his butt is pointing towards his target. Bang! Sideways to his opponent now. So the first one, hips were square. He goes inside crescent kick. And then he looks over his shoulder and then doesn't rotate as much for this one. Bang! Turns his hip and his body. Doesn't rotate all the way through. Puts his foot down in the lead. Very cool there. Let's watch another one. Couple lead leg kicks. That's interesting. He jumped with both feet there. Usually when you're watching flying side kicks, you'll see the person take a couple steps, jump with their back leg, pull their front knee up to their chest, and then fire out a side kick. I think what they wanted to portray here was the fact that Bruce Lee was like superhuman and could just jump off both feet, not only get air this way, but then also propel himself this way. My light just turned off. Not usually how you'd see a flying side kick, but made a cool movie moment for sure. Ah, see that's exactly what we're talking about there. Couple steps. He then launches off one foot, tucks his front knee in. Bang. He kind of threw it more of like a drop kick where both feet went at the same time instead of switching and going front leg goes extend while the back leg pulls back. Instead he goes bang. He goes both feet, which is pretty sick, not gonna lie. Honestly, I didn't watch a bunch of these and I never really watched them with like a big like zoomed in eyeball to the details. You will be hard pressed to find, other than the pendulum step. I think the pendulum step is one of the most overrated things. I think it looks really cool in movies, but it adds little to no power, a little bit of speed, which is good for movies. But I think that if you rewatch this and you look at details in kicks, you'll be hard pressed to find a kick of Bruce Lee's that is not technically sound. Like, I expected this video, I'm kind of mad, to be honest. I expected this video to be me roasting Bruce Lee.